والاكم وعدو لمن آذاكم، فأسأل الله الذي أكرم بكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة، وأسأل الله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله، وأن يرزقني طلب الثار مع إمام حدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم، وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يؤتيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يؤتي مصابا بمصيبته، مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رضيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تنال منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد، ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله في كل موطن وموقف وكفى فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضائف عليهم اللعنة منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني يتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياته بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم لعن أول الظالمين ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن الإسابة التي جاحدت الحسين والشايعات وبايعات وطابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. مرت له. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله عبدا ما بخيت وبخي الليل والنهار، ولا جعل الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خذ أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني وابدأ به أولا ثم لعن الثانية والثالثة والرابع. اللهم لعن يزيد خامسا ولعن عبيد الله بن زياد بن مرجانة وعمر بن سعد والشمرة وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. سجود. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم، الحمد لله على عظيم رضيه. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الفروض وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا محجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرسولة المباركة الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء المرسلين محمد وأهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين، واللعنة على أعدائهم من الآن إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الإمام عليه السلام: لو كشف لك لرأيت ملائكة الله المقربين معنا في هذا المجلس يبكون ويستغفرون الباكين على الحسين عليه السلام. وقال في حديث أخرى: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، إن الحسين مصباح الهدى والسفينة النجاح، من ركبها نجا ومن تركها هلك. صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Continuing from yesterday in regards to the importance of Azar and the benefits and the blessing of having the love of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Today I would like to discuss and continue our discussion about Ziyarah itself, the importance of Ziyarah in the eyes of the Imams alayhi salam, and how much importance they have given in their practical life as well. The first hadith which I recited to you in your presence, it was the hadith from the Imams alayhi salam, where Imam says to a companion, a person, "Law kushifa laka," if the veil in front of your eyes is removed, "laka ra'ayta mala'ikat Allahi muqarrabin," indeed you will see the close angels of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ma'ana, with us, fi hadha al-majlis, in these gatherings. What will be these angels doing? They are malak muqarrab, the angels which are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who have a high station in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What will be doing? Yabkuna wa yastaghfiruna. They will be crying and they will be seeking forgiveness for whom? Lil baqeen, for those people who lament and cry for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So this is the hadith to understand that these majalis which we hold, we need to revere them and give them the right duty and respect to them. These are not ordinary gatherings. These are the gatherings in which the angels, and even in ahadith where it says that our Imams alayhi salam come in these holy gatherings in which they are seeing our homage to and condolences to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. The hadith which I have posted in the group as well, which I would discuss first and then I'll touch upon the other ahadith. Now, some of these hadith, I'll probably choose a short one first, actually. There's a book which everyone knows. It's in the house of, inshallah, of everyone. It's called Tahzeebul Ahkam, and it's one of our 4 authentic books of the Shias by Sheikh Tusi. And in this, it talks about the merits of the Ziyarah of Abu Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam. The reason why I need to touch upon the topic of Ziyarah and the importance of Ziyarah is so that when we recite Ziyarat Ashura, we understand the significance and what the Imams alayhi salam have instructed when we recite the ziyarah. What is the purpose of the ziyarah? What is the significance of the ziyarah itself? Now, in the ahadith of, there's a chapter in Tahzeeb, which is called Fadlu Ziyaratihi, the merits of the Ziyarat of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. It says in this, from our Imams alayhi salam, it says, Qalu murru shi'atana bi ziyarati qabr al-Hussain alayhi salam. Murru means pass by the grave of Mawlachus alayhi salam. Imam Hussain alayhi salam, throughout the history, you see that many people, many enemies, Mutawakkil Abbasi, you're aware that there's a history behind the Ziyarah of Abdullah Hussain, that the Ziyarah of Imam Hussain alayhi salam has never been easy for mu'mineen to be able to perform itself. Mutawakkil Abbasi, he was a staunch enemy of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. What did he do? He tried to run the actual Al-Qama itself, Furat, in the Haram of Mawla Hussain. He tried to destroy the Haram of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And even he actually put a condition that whoever would like to visit Abu Abdullah Hussain alayhi salam, you have to sacrifice and cut off your hands. And people had sacrificed and cut the hands for visiting Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And you remember yesterday, I mentioned there's a hadith where it said, Lo ulima, if the people knew the merits and the position of visiting the grave of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, they would die in craving to do the ziyarah of Abu Abdullah Hussain alayhi salam. And as you may remember, or you may have read, Imam Hussain alayhi salam, ziyarah, it's not an ordinary ziyarah. In ahadith, it says, Man zara qabr al-Hussain kaman zara Allahu ala arshih. Whoever visits Imam Hussain alayhi salam, it is as if you are visiting the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a metaphor of the extreme proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of the sacrifice, the sincerity of Mawla Hussain alayhi salam, that he attained this great station with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this hadith, it says, Murru shi'atana bi ziyarat qabr al-Hussain, that I request our Shias that you visit the grave of Mawla Hussain alayhi salam. And then it says, فَإِنَّ إِتْيَانَهُ يَزِيدُ فِي الرِّزْقِ. Indeed, performing the ziyarah of Imam Hussain alayhi salam is a means of increasing your sustenance, number one. Number two, وَيَمُدُّ فِي الْعُمْرِ. It will be a means of increasing your lifespan. Number two. Number three, وَيَدْفَعُ مُدَافَعَ السُّوءِ. It will remove from you any type of evilness which will be approaching you. And finally, وَإِتْيَانُهُ, performing this homage or ziyarah of Abu Abdullah Hussain alayhi salam. Ityanuhu means performing, accomplishing it. Muftaradun. This is a very important point. It says muftaradun ala kulli mu'min yaqirru lahu bil imama min Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this hadith it said that whoever believes in the Ahlul Bayt al-Muslim and the 12 Imams, upon him is incumbent to the ziyarah of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, who believes in the imamat of the Ahlul Bayt al-Muslim. This highlights the importance and the significance of visiting the grave of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And then this hadith, and then there's another hadith where I also mentioned that one who visits the grave of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, it is as if you have visited the grave of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. And now the next hadith I will read to yourselves. It says now the other hadith, Law anna ahadakum, if one of you hajja dahrahu, the word hajja yahijju means that who performs hajj every year, thumma lam yazur al-Husayn bin Ali alayhim salam, lakana tarikan haqqan min huquqi Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If a person performs hajj every year and he does not go to the ziyarah of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, indeed he has deprived, or he has not performed a duty which is incumbent upon him from the rights of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is neglectful, not to Imam Hussein, but min huquqi Rasulillah. This is one of the rights and the duties which we have towards Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then it says hadith, لأن حق الحسين فريضة من الله. لأن حق الحسين. Indeed, the right of Hussein alayhi salam is a duty upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, upon all believers. In the past, ulama, there have been ulama, I don't want to mention the exact name, but great ulama, they have even have gone to the extent that the ziyarah of Abu Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam is wajib, at least once in your lifetime. And then in another hadith in regards to the importance, it continue. One hadith elaborates the other hadith. Now the other hadith, it says, many of us, mashallah, many of us are affluent people. We have our own businesses. We have our own professional jobs and are self-employed. And mashallah, we have good professions. And we are well off in the West in particular. How many times I would like to put this question forward. How many of us in our lives at the age of 40, 35, have gone to Dubai, America, for a visit, and you still haven't visited Imam Hussein alayhi salam? Think of the reasons why. Why have you not visited Imam Hussein alayhi salam? Your age is 35, your age is 40, your age is 45, 55. You haven't still gone. I'll mention, I'll share a hadith of the Imams alayhi salam and ulama, what they have gained from the ziyarah of Abu Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam. In the next hadith, this is in regards to people who are rich and who are poor. It says, Haqqu ala al-ghani. From the Imams alayhi salam, they said, Haqqu ala al-ghani an ya'tiya qabr al-Hussein alayhi salam fi sana marratain. One who is affluent, one who has the surplus money in his banks, he is able to pay for the cost of going for the ziyarah of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Upon him is a duty to visit Imam Hussein alayhi salam twice a year. And then it says, وَحَقٌّ عَلَى الْفَقِيرِ. And those who are not well off, أَن يَأْتِيَ فِي السَّنَةِ مَرَّةً. It is upon you to visit Imam Hussein alayhi salam once in a year. This is another hadith. And then the other hadith from the Imams alayhi salam, it says that one who does not go for the ziyarah of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, I'll read the hadith. Man lam ya'ti qabr al-Hussein. Man lam ya'ti. Whoever does not go to the visiting the grave of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, hatta yamutu, and he dies. Hatta yamut, and kana muntakizul iman. Kana muntakizul iman. He will die with a defected iman. And then the hadith continues. It doesn't stop there. Then the hadith continues. Muntaqisul iman, his faith is incomplete. Muntaqisul deen, and even his iman and deen, both of them will be treated as incomplete. And then it says, in adkhala al-jannah, in adkhala. In is conditional, adkhala past tense, al-jannah object. If he is able to reach heaven, kana dun al-mu'minin fiha, meaning that the neighborhood of Mawla Hussein alayhi salam is a VIP neighborhood in the heavens itself and in paradise. And those who are not able to go for the ziyarah of Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam, they will be deprived of this neighborhood of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So this highlights the importance of the visiting the grave of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and reciting the ziyarah. Of course, some people may not be able to, health reasons or other reasons. We recite the ziyarah in a physical form, or as you have read a hadith, it says that one who is not able to go to ziyarah, they should recite the ziyarah from their house and face towards Karbala and recite the Ziyarah. And as you are aware of that. That is the hadith from Sheikh Tusi's in Tahzib al-Ahkam. Now, the hadith which I shared with you in the actual group, this is a very important hadith. Now, this hadith which I shared with you in the group, this hadith, Abdullah Jawad Tabrizi, Ayatollah Jawad Tabrizi, the teacher of Ayatollah Wahid Khurasani, Hafidahullah, who is regarded as the Ustadul Ulama, the teacher of all of the teacher of all teachers in Qum and in Great Mad and Najaf as well. He has quoted this hadith as well in his book in regard to the Ziyarat of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And this hadith is such a beautiful hadith that when we read the hadith, we realize that what a great ni'mah we have been blessed with, and how fortunate we are when we are able to go for the Ziyarah of Abdullah Hussain alayhi salam. In this hadith, it says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I'll start from, it says, Allahumma. Those who have the actual PDF in the group, you can follow. It says, Allahumma, ya man khassana bil karama. Now, before I start this hadith is in regards to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, that fadakhalat, now one of his companions enters the room, fadakhaltu fawajadtu fi musallah في بيتي فجلس حتى قضى صلاته فسمعته يناجي ربه ويقول. Now he sees this companion of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, sees Imam Sadiq alayhi salam praying on his prayer mat, and he completes his prayer and he sits on his prayer mat, and this companion finds him yunaji rabbahu, he whispers to his Lord. What does he whisper? What does he pray in this dua? ويقول اللهم يا من خصنا bil karama, oh whom has blessed us with a speciality of dignity and respect. Wa wa'adana bis shafa'a, and he has promised us that we will intercede on the day of judgment. Wa khassana bil wasiya, and he has made us the successors of the Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wa a'tana ilma ma madha wa ilma ma baqiya, and he has given the knowledge of the past and the future. Then Imam mentions the qualities. He says then about themselves, وَجَعَلَ Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala وَجَعَلَ أَفْئِدَةً, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the hearts of the believers, مِنَ النَّاسِ تَحْوِي إِلَيْنَا, they mold and they incline towards the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam when they hear the merits of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. تَحْوِي إِلَيْنَا, the hearts of people incline towards us, embrace towards us when they listen and hear our merits itself. Then look at this. This is the station of the Zair and those who recite the Ziyarat of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Imam, what does Imam do? He says, Ighfir li, oh Allah, forgive me. Ighfir li, imperative. Ighfir li, forgive me. Just only me? Imam Sadiq alayhi salam? No, he said, Wali ikhwani, and my brothers in faith. And then thirdly, he mentions the station and the position of the Zair of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And many of you in this group, and many who will be listening, are going to the Ziyarah of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. When you go to the Ziyarah of Abdullah Hussain alayhi salam, when you sit in the actual haram or the sihin of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, read this and look at the Zari of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, and you will shed tears. And you will be able to depict and have a clear vision of, and when you're reading this, what I'm translating, think of yourself when you went last time to the Ziyarah of Abdullah Hussain alayhi salam, and how your journey was, what was your experience, and how Imam Sadiq alayhi salam prays for the Zair of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Then he says, وَزُوَّارِ قَبْرِ أَبِي al-Hussain alayhi salam, and those who visit the grave of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Then Imam Sadiq alayhi salam starts depicting, illustrating the description of these people, what they have to do to be able to perform the Ziyarah of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. He says, الَّذِينَ أَنفَقُوا أَمْوَالَهُمْ, They are those people who spend from their financial, from their money in the way of the ziyarah of Imam Hussain. الَّذِينَ أَنفَقُوا أَمْوَالَهُم. They are those people who spend their wealth. وَأَشْخَصُوا أَبْدَانَهُم. Number two, وَأَشْخَصُوا أَبْدَانَهُم. They tire themselves for the sake of the ziyarah of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Why? It explains وَأَشْخَصُوا أَبْدَانَهُم. They make their bodies tired for the ziyarah of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Here it explains the reason why. رَغَبَتْ Allahu Akbar. This is رَغَبَةً فِي بِرِّنَا. رَغَبَةً فِي بِرِّنَا. They desire to do goodness, virtues upon us. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is trying to say that when you do the ziyarat of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, you are doing goodness upon the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Raghabatan fi birrina. You are doing goodness to us. You are gaining the pleasure of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. You are doing bir. You're doing, as we say in Urdu, neki kar rahe hain aap upon Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Who are we? People who commit sins. And the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam are saying that when you do the Ziyarat of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, you are doing bir upon us, you are doing favor upon us, you are doing ihsan upon us. Then it says, وَرَجَاءً لِمَا إِنْدَكَ فِي سِلَتِنَا. وَرَجَاءً. And they are hoping that they are able to achieve by this Sila Raham, that they are doing, by us doing the Ziyarah, we are hoping that we'll receive some reward from this. And then وَسُرُورًا أَدْخَلُوهُ عَلَى نَبِيِّكَ. Allahu Akbar. When we visit the grave of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, Rasulullah, it brings about happiness in the heart of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وَأَدْخَلُوا سُرُورًا عَلَى نَبِيِّكَ. If it brings surur to the heart of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, by instinct we'll say that it's not only for Rasulullah, even the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, all of us will say, "O Shi'atana, O our Shias, haqqun alayna." O Shias, you have a right upon us. We are indebted to you by you doing the Ziyarat of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Then it says, وَإِجَابَةً مِّنْهُمْ لِأَمْرِنَا. And you're answering our call in reviving the decrees, our decrees, the affairs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then what happens? وَغَيْذًا أَدْخَلُوهُ عَلَى أَدُوِّنَا. When the Shias of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam go, it causes wrath and anger and rage in the enemies of the Ahlul Bayt, in the hearts of the enemies of Ahlul Bayt, when a Za'ir goes to the shrine of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. أَرَادُ بِذَلِكَ رِضَاكَ. The only thing these people are desiring is your rida, is your pleasure, O Allah. فَقَافِئْهُمْ أَنَّا بِرِضْوَانِ. O Allah, reward them. With what? With your pleasure. وَقْلَعْهُمْ بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ وَخْلُفْ عَلَى أَحَالِيهِمْ وَأَوْلَادِهِمْ الَّذِي خُلِّفُوا بِأَحْسَنِ خَلَقٍ وَأَصْبِحْهُمْ. And these individuals are those who have left their families and have left their children. And O Allah, keep them in the best situation. And then the hadith continues. It should be and then the hadith continues. Can you hear me clearly now? Is it loud?
Yes, alhamdulillah, I can hear.
Then the hadith continues, وَقْفِهِمْ شَرَّ كُلَّ جَبَّارٍ أَنِيدٍ. Oh Allah, protect these people from the stubborn tyrants, kings, leaders of countries. وَكُلَّ ضَعِيفٍ مِنْ خَلْقِكَ. And every weak person who goes to your ziyarah. وَشَرَّ شَيَاطِينَ الْإِنسِ وَالْجِنِّ. And the evilness of shaitan and from the jinn and human beings. وَأَعْتِهِمْ. Oh Allah, give them أَفْضَلَ مَا أَمَّلُوا. Oh Allah, now this is very beautiful. وَأَعْتِ أَفْضَلَ مَا أَمَّلُوا. Oh Allah, give them the best reward, what they anticipate, meaning what we anticipate, give them better than what they deserve itself. Look at, it's trying to address Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh Allah, look at your gracious, look at your compassion, look at yourself, how graceful and merciful you are. And on that basis, bless these Zair of Imam Musa alayhi salam. Minka fi ghurbati, in their bewilderness. Ghurba means that when you're when you are stranded in a foreign land. And awtanim, they are in a foreign land away from their home countries. Ala abnaihim wa ahalihim wa qurabatihim. And they are away from their children, their families, and their near ones. Then it continues, second paragraph. Allahumma inna a'da'ana abu alayhim bi khurujim. Oh Allah, our enemies of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, abu alayhim, they reprimand them by them leaving for the Ziyarah of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. فَلَمْ يَنْهِهِمْ ذَلِكَ عَنِ الشُّخُوصِ إِلَيْنَا خِلَافًا مِنْهُمْ. Despite them, they trying to prevent him, they still came to the Ziyarah of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, making their bodies tired in this journey itself. عَلَى مَنْ خَالَفْنَا. Now, again, now Imam Hussain alayhi salam, or Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, now is illustrating a picture of the sentiments and feelings and how a Zair, when we go for the Ziyarah of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, what happens and how Imam Hussain alayhi salam, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam sees them and their positions. It says then, oh Allah, farham tilkal wujuhu. Wajhun means face, wujuhun means face. Farham tilkal wujuhu allati ghayyarat ash-shamsu. Oh Allah, forgive those faces which have changed colors. Ghayyarat, it means change colors. Ghayyara means taghyir, means change. But here, ghayyara means become tanned. Oh Allah, farham tilkal, oh Allah, have mercy upon those faces who the rays of the sun have changed their faces, meaning that they have got a tan because of the rays of the sun itself shining on them. Warham tilkal khudud. Oh Allah, those cheeks. Warham tilkal khudud. Oh Allah, those cheeks. Allati tataqallabu ala hufrati Abi Abdullah Hussain alayhi salam. Oh Allah, those cheeks who have put their cheeks on the grave of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, and they have dust on their cheeks. Forgive those cheeks itself. Oh Allah, warham tilkal a'yun. Aynun, a'yun, plural, eyes. Oh Allah, warham tilkal a'yun. Allati jarat damu'aha rahmatan lana. Oh Allah, forgive those eyes that shed tears, dumu'aha, which shed tears, rahmatan lana. They are being a means of rahmat, a blessing for the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Our crying and wailing for Imam Hussain alayhi salam, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, say, this is a means of mercy for us. Allahu Akbar. Warham tilkal a'yun allati damu'aha rahmatan lana. Oh Allah, forgive those eyes that shed tears, and they are a means of mercy for us. Warham tilkal qulubu allati jaza'at واحترقت لنا. O Allah, qalbun qulub, hearts. O Allah, forgive those hearts. Have mercy on those hearts that are anxious and are burning in our love, for our love itself. O Allah, warham tilkal as-sarkhatu allati kanat lana. O Allah, Urdu mein kehte hain cheek or buqa. O Allah, as-sarkha means screaming or yelling in Arabic. As-sarkhatu, warham tilka sarkha. When we go to our majalis, don't feel shy or hesitant, wailing and crying itself. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is doing dua for those who wail and cry in the dhikr of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Warham tirkha sarkhatu allati kanat lana. Oh Allah, forgive those, have mercy upon those yelling and screaming. That's for us. Allahumma inni astawdi'uka tilka abdan wa tilka al-anfus hatta tarwihim ala al-hawd yawm al-atsh al-akbar. Oh Allah, oh Allah, I am depositing, astawdi'uka. Oh Allah, I am depositing you, these individuals, these souls who are going to the visit of the grave of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, tilkal anfus, these bodies and these souls, I am depositing you as an amanat in your trust. Hatta, until the day, hatta tarwim, hatta tarwihim, until you will quench them al al-hawd yawm al-atsh al-akbar, until they come on the day of judgment on the pool of Kawthar and you will quench them. And then the hadith continues. And then the Imam Huwayadu alayhi salam who was sajin bihad dua. And then the Imam Sadiq alayhi salam then is in the state of prostration. And then it says, then this companion says, Wallahi laqad tamannaytu kuntu zurtuhu wa lam ahujja. I desire, indeed I perform his ziyarah and I do not go for hajj. فقال ما أقربك منك وما الذي يمنعك من زيارتي. And what is near to you and what is preventing you to go to the ziyarat of Imam Hussain alayhi salam? Ya Muawiyah, lima tada' dhalik. Why are you not performing this? جُئِلْتُ فِدَاكَ لَمْ أَرَى أَنَّ الْأَمْرِ يَبْلُغُ هَذَا كُلُّهُ. I was not aware that this is the position of the Zair of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Ya Muawiyah, the final extract of this hadith. Ya Muawiyah, man yad'u lizawarihi fi sama aktharu mimman yad'u lahum fil ard. O Muawiyah, the companion of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, there are more individuals who are praying for the Zair of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. There are more individuals who are praying in the skies for the Zair of Imam Hussain alayhi salam than the earth itself. So this is the station and the position of the Zair of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Can I request a loud salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. Any questions before I continue any further? Any questions from anyone?
Aga, I have one question. In Barzakh, does our Mu'mineen do Azadari?
That is a very good question. In Barzakh, if a person is a Zair of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, he will reap the benefits of Azadari itself. Itself, that those who are the Azadar of Imam Hussain alayhi salam in Barzakh, they will reap the fruits itself. Very good question. I will come upon that now itself from the ulama, what they have said. Now, I'm now going to talk about the ulama, what the ulama have said about the ziyarah of Abu Abdullah Hussain alayhi ulama. Now, this is something which ulama, either through their students or either through dreams, have told their story of their position in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, ziyarah itself Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullah wabtaghu ilayhi al-wasila. Surah Ma'idah, verse number 35. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who believe, fear Allah, wabtaghu, and reach to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by the means of a wasila. Our ziyarah, our traveling to our ziyarat and reciting the ziyarat from our homes, this is a means of reaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the reason why we recite the ziyarat of Ziyarat Jamia Kabira or Ziyarat Waratha or Ziyarat Ashura itself. Because the Ahlul Bayt al-Muslim, in the hadith of the Ahlul Bayt al-Muslim, it says, Al-Awsiya, it says, Al-Awsiya hum abwabullah. Now, the successors of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, these are the doors by which we can reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yu'ta, it says, allati. Then it says, then the hadith continues, and Babullah alladhi la yuta illa minhu wa sabiluhu alladhi man salaka bi ghairi halaka. Now, the doors of Ahlul Bayt al-Muslim are the path by which we can reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then, inshallah, after Muharram, if I get the chance, even in Ziyarat Jamia Kabira, before I explain the extract of Ziyarat Jamia Kabira, understanding the purpose of ziyarat, there is a hadith which you may have heard, which is Lawla hujja la sakhatil ardu. Has anyone heard this hadith? Lawla hujja la sakhatil ardu. There's a hadith where it says, if there is not a divine proof of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the form of the Ahlul Bayt al-Muslim, the earth will perish itself. Lawla hujja la sakhatil ardu. This is in regards to Imam Zamana, that there has to be a divine person which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has on earth as a proof of Allah, a proof for the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and a proof from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon mankind, whether he is visible, whether he is physically visible, or whether he is in occultation itself. Then in Ziyarat Jamia Kabira, it says that about the position of the Ahlul Bayt al-Muslim, it says bikum, by the means of bikum fatahallahu, by the means of Ahlul Bayt al-Muslim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens things, begins things. Wabika yakhtim, and by the means of Ahlul Bayt al-Muslim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings things to a termination itself. Bika fatahallahu, by the means of the Ahlul Bayt al-Muslim, things are brought into life. Wabikum yakhtim, by the means of the Ahlul Bayt al-Muslim, things are terminated. And you know this hadith as well, that there's a hadith Qudsi where it says, Kuntu kanzan makhfiya fa ahbabtu an u'raf. It says hadith about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Ahlul Bayt. Kuntu kanzan makhfiya, I was a hidden treasure, Allah says about himself. فَكُنْتُ كَنْزًا مَخْفِيًا فَأَحْبَبْتُ أَنْ أُعْرَفَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I desired to become known. فَخَلَقْتُكَ يَا Muhammad. So I created the nur of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Then the hadith continued, لَوْلَا Ali lama khalaqtuka. Then it says, if Mawla Ali alayhi salam wasn't created, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam would not be created. Then the hadith says, Lawla Fatima lama khalaqtukuma. Lawla Ali lama khalaqtuka. If Mawla Ali alayhi salam wasn't created, the nur of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam would be created. Lawla Fatima lama khalaqtukuma. And if Fatima to Zahra salamullah alayha was not created, then the nur of Rasulullah and the nur of Mawla Ali alayhi salam would not be created. The Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, in Arabic or in Urdu, we could call in Arabic illatul gha'i. They are the cause of all creation itself. They are the true servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who have fulfilled the right of being the servants of Allah. And due to their love, which Allah has for them, as we recite in Hadith Qissa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the heavens and the earth itself. And this Ziyarat Jami Kabira, it reinstates this belief and this aqidah which we have. And then it says, وَبِكُمْ يُنَزِّلُ الْغَيْثُ. And by the means of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pours rain itself. This is in regards to ziyarat. Now, from our ulama. Now, I'm going to now share you a few stories, an instance of our ulama, and inshallah I'll try to finish within time. First alim ad-din, which I'll mention to yourself, is this alim ad-din. Is everyone heard of him? Ayatollah Dastaghab. Ayatollah Dastaghab, who has Ma'alim Sibtan in Urdu and in English, I think is translated as well. He has a book on Quran. He has other books as well on Tafsir of Surah Hujurat as well. Ayatollah Dastaghab, he says that Hadrat in the Sayyid Farid, Ahadul Ulama Sakinin fi Tehran. He goes to one of the Sayyid Ulama, great Ulama, and قال عندما واجهت مشكلة صعبة تذكرت قول مرحوم آية الله مرزا محمد تقي شيرازي. Now مرحوم آية الله مرزا Taqi Shirazi was a great alim ad-din, which he remembers that he said, فَبَدَأْتُ بِقِرَاءَةِ زِيَارَةِ الْعَشُورَةِ مِنْ أَوَّلِ الشَّهْرِ الْمُحَرَّمِ بِشَكْلٍ خَارِقٍ لِعَادَةٍ جَاءَنِي الْفَرَجِ. Now, Ayatollah Dastaghab says that I recited this from the first of Muharram and as a normal routine, and my difficulty was eased. This is one story. Then another beautiful story is of Ayatollah Mirza Ibrahim al-Muhallati. He is again a great Shia scholar. He says about himself that Ra'a Sheikh Marhum. Now, one of his students saw in a dream, في عالم الأرواح, Hadara Israel ملك الموت في ليلة 27 of شهر صفر. فقال من شيراز بعد أن قبضت روح المرزا إبراهيم المحلاتي فسأله الشيخ كيف حاله في عالم البرزخ. This is the question which one of the sisters asked. How is your position in barzakh itself? What is your situation? How are you doing in barzakh? Sheikh Ayatollah Ibrahim Hallati says, فقال في أحسن حال. I am in the best position in عالم البرزخ. وفي أفضل حدائق البرزخ. I am in the best gardens in barzakh. وقد وكل الله تعالى ألف ملك لخدمته. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has appointed 1,000 angels for my service itself. قال شيخ لماذا وصل إلى هذا المقام. What have you performed? What have you done to achieve this position? هل لمقام العلم وتدريس وتربيته للطلاب. Is it because of your position, your intellectual position, or is it because of your teaching, or is it because of your be nurturing the students itself? وقال مرزا المحلاتي لم يترك ترك يترك لم يترك زيارة عاشوراء في 30 عاما الأخيرة. I've recited زيارة Imam Hussain عليه السلام for 30 years. وكان في اليوم الذي لم يقدر فيه على قراءة زيارة بسبب المرض أو أي أمر آخر يوكل أحد لقراءة نيابة. Allahu Akbar. This is a lesson for us to learn. That Ayatollah Muhallati says that I've recited Ziyarat Ashura in the later part of my life for 30 years, and due to my illness or sickness, if I was not able to recite Ziyarat Ashura, I used to request someone else to recite on my behalf Ziyarat Ashura. This is a story from Ayatollah Muhallati. Then the story continues about Ayatollah Muhallati, but this was then confirmed by many other scholars about Ayatollah Muhallati, that other ulama said, yes, what we have heard, we have a similar dream, and this is confirmed that Ayatollah Muhallati had performed this action itself. Then another great scholar. Now this is in regard to Qira'at Ziyarat Ashura, نيابة عن الإمام صاحب العصر والزمان وقضاء الحاجة. Now, this is in regards to Sheikh Ali Akbar al-Nahawandi. He says that this is Masjid al-Sahla. Masjid al-Sahla is near the near Najaf itself, about 4 miles away or 3 miles away from the Haram of Imam Ali alayhi salam, Masjid al-Sahla. He says, كنت في يوم الجمعة جالس في إحدى غرف مسجد السحلة. I was in one of the rooms of Masjid al-Sahla itself. وإذن سيد مؤمم قد دخل عليه جبة فاخرة. And a Sayyid with an amama came in the room and he was wearing very respectable clothes itself. وأبان حمراء, and he was wearing a red abba. وأخذ يتطلع في زوايا الغرفة. He was observing the room itself. وكان فيها بساط وأواني وبعض الكتب. He had some books and he had some mats with him. ثم قال لي ثم قال, then he said, لقضاء هوائج دنياك. Imam Sadiq, Imam Zamana meets this first Sheikh. Imam Zamana says to him, اقرأ صباح كل يوم زيارة عاشوراء. Recite Ziyarat Ashura بالنيابة عن الإمام الزمان أجل الله تعالى فرج الشريف. Recite Ziyarat Ashura on behalf of Imam Zamana. وخذ عني, and Imam Sadiq alayhi, Imam Zamana, Imam Mahdi أجل الله تعالى فرج الشريف, وخذ عني, and take from me ما يكفيك شهرا كاملا لكي لا تكن محتاجا إلى أحد, and take from me some money so that you do not become dependent upon anyone else during this a'mal. وأعطاني مقدار من النقود, and he gave me amount of money. وقال هذا يكفيك شهرا, this will be sufficient for you. وبعد ذلك توجه نحو باب المسجد, and then this Imam Zamana أجل الله تعالى فرج الشريف went towards the door of Masjid Sahala and went. وأما أنا فقد بقيت في مكاني لا أقدر على حركة وتكلم حتى خرج. I was not able to move or do anything until Imam Zamana left the room. وبعد شعرت أن كل القيود والحديدية التي كانت علي قد انفتحت ووسع صدري. And he says that after Imam Zamana disappeared, there was certain feeling with me, abilities which I was able to find within me, which I was not able to find before. فقمت من مقامي, I stood up from my place. وخرجت من المسجد, and I left the masjid. عندما تفحصت المكان لم أجد أي أثر لذلك. And then I would try to look for that Sayyid and I could not find him. And then he says that indeed my difficulties was removed by the means of Ziyarat Ashura. This is in regard to this other Sheikh. Then this another story. This is a very interesting story, which is from not reciting Ziyarat Ashura on a daily basis. This is something which is in regards to Abdullah Hadi al-Ha'iri, again a great Shia Alim-Din, Abdullah Ha'iri al-Mazandarani. He says, an Abihi al-Marhum Mullah Abi al-Hasan. He narrates from his father, Ra'aytu al-Haj Mirza Ali al-Naqi al-Tabatabai, that بعد مماته في عالم الرؤيا وقلت له هل لك أمنية. Now he narrates from his father in regards to Haj Mirza Ali Naqi Tabatabai. He's a great scholar of his father, the teacher of his father. بعد مماته, after his demise, I see the great alim in the dream. وقلت له, I said to him, هل لك أمنية, do you have any wish or anything which you crave that you had done in your life itself? قال واحد, I have one thing that I wish I had done this more often. He says, وهي لماذا لم أقرأ زيارة عاشوراء كل يوم أثناء حياتي. Why did I not recite Ziyarat of Imam Hussain alayhi salam on a daily basis? وكانت من الآداب ورسوم السيد قراءته الزيارة العشر الأولى من محرم الحرام فقط. He says that my custom was that only recite Ziyarat Ashura for the 10 days, and that was it. And the rest of the year, I did not recite. ولذا كان متأسفا لتركه بقية الأيام. I am now regretting because now I see the position of reciting Ziyarat Ashura itself. There are many other stories, but one final story, and then inshallah I will complete. I will not recite any masahib today because the shortage of time. Then the final story which I would like to mention is the story of Ayatollah Amini. Ayatollah Amini is the one who has wrote Al-Ghadir, which is a 12-volume book on Ghadir, proving the wilayat and the imamat of Imam Ali alayhi salam. And even when you go to Najaf now, there is a maktaba for Amirul Mu'mineen, which Ayatollah Amini established, and he spent, I recollect, 30 years or 40 years of his life in writing Al-Ghadir itself. He says that, his son narrates that بعد أربع سنين من وفاة والدي, after 4 years, my father had passed away. رأيته في إحدى ليالي الجمعة قبل أذان الفجر. One of the nights of the eve of Friday, I saw my father in a dream before the time of Fajr. فعالم رؤيا فرحا وفي هيئة حسنة, in such a beautiful position and state. فتقدمت نحوه وسلمت عليه. I went towards him and said salam to my father. وسألته أي أعمال أوصلتك إلى هذه السعادة. What was the a'mal you have performed which allowed you to reach this position itself? ماذا تقول أنت? What would you say about this? عرضت علي السؤال مرة أخرى هكذا. سيدي في هذا المكان الذي تقيم فيه الآن أي الأعمال أوصلت إليه؟ كتاب الغدير, is it the book of Ghadir which you had wrote for Imam Ali alayhi salam, or بقية التعليفات, or is it the other great books which you have wrote on Imam Ali, Imam Hussain alayhi salam, or is it the library which you have established in the name of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam? Is it because of that? قال وضح أكثر, please explain to me. لا أعرف المقصود من سؤالك هذا. أنت بعيد الآن عنا وذهب إلى عالم آخر. You have gone in a different world now. Tell me what have you done? فمكث المرحوم. I'll finish on this point and this will be the end. فقد عن الطريق زيارة أبي عبد الله. فمكث المرحوم أميني قليلا ثم قال فقد عن طريق زيارة أبي عبد الله. I used to stand on the path of the Ziyarah of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. ثم سألت أنت تعرف في الوقت الحاضر أن الروابط السياسية بين إيران. Now the situation between Iran and Iraq in those time of Ayatollah Amini was very difficult. However, يا ولدي أوصيتك. Now this is a wasiyah for us. This is an admonishment for us, advice for us, and I will conclude on this. أوصيتك, I advise you. في السابق كثير بقراءة زيارة عاشوراء. Try to recite زيارة عاشوراء. والآن أقرر عليك وأقول أستمر بقراءتها. Recite it on a continual regular basis. ولا تتركها. Do not leave it. لأي سبب, for any reason itself. اقرأ دائما. Recite it regularly. كأنها جزء من واجباتك اليومية. Regard زيارة عاشوراء as a daily obligation upon you. فإن هذه الزيارة فوائد وبركات كثيرة. Indeed, this has great merits. وهي طريق. This is the final point. I will end on this. وهي طريق. This ziyarah of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, هي طريق. It is the path. نجاتك. It's a means of a path for your salvation. في الدنيا والآخرة. This is the mean of salvation for you in this dunya and the akhirah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by the means of Ziyarat Ashura and by the means of this zikr that, Ya Allah, give us a tawfiq of being a continuous, a regular reciter of Ziyarat Ashura, and Ya Allah, by the wasila of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, by the blood of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, Ya Allah, bless our families and bless us the tawfiq of the seeing with our own sinful eyes the ziyarah of Imam Mawla Hussain alayhi salam, and Ya Allah, hasten the coming of Imam Zamana Ajjallahu ta'ala Faraj al-Sharif. Ya Allah, those mu'mineen who are listening with us and who are sick, and those mu'mineen who have requested for dua, Ya Allah, by the wasila of Ziyarat Ashura and the grief of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, Ya Allah, fulfill our hajat. Ya Allah, those mu'mineen who are in debt, those mu'mineen who are sick because of COVID-19, Ya Allah, those mu'mineen who have gone to Ziyarat, Ya Allah, fulfill their hajat and make them return safely back to their houses. Ya Allah, those mu'mineen in Pakistan, India, Iraq, Afghanistan, who are doing the azadari of Mawla Hussain alayhi salam, protect them from the enemies of Islam, the enemies of Rasulullah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a tawfiq to go for the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah Hussain alayhi salam. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجل فرجهم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجل فرجهم. Can I request a loud salawat, please?
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali
Muhammad وعجل فرجهم.
Yeah.
Inshallah, I hope I was able to give you some insight in regards to the importance of Ziyarat Ashura from our ulama and from our Imams alayhi salam, the importance of the Ziyarah. That there's even a book in Arabic that says that Ziyarat Ashura, tuhfatun min as-sama, it's a gift from the heavens itself for the Shias. So inshallah, tomorrow I will start the first session in regarding to explain the first extracts of Ziyarat Ashura, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Does anyone just pray for me that inshallah, Imam, that I get the tawfiq to be able to disperse the little I know about Imam Hussain alayhi salam and benefit mu'mineen. This is the greatest sa'adah which any person can do, is to be a khadim of Mawlachus Hussain alayhi salam. If there's no questions, then inshallah.
Alaikum, Sheikh.
Salam.
Sheikh, which Imam gave us this ziyarah?
This ziyarah is from all of the Imams alayhi salam. So Imam Sadiq alayhi salam has mentioned this dua itself, and in Ziyarat Ashura itself, it's hadith Qudsi. Tomorrow I'll start on this point of what is the chain narration of Ziyarat Ashura itself. I was going to discuss this today, but I'll discuss that tomorrow, that Ziyarat Ashura is narrated from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, and other Imams have also narrated this Ziyarat as well. And even Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, Ya Safwan, إِذَا حَدَثَ لَكَ إِلَى اللَّهِ حَاجَةً. If for you occurs a need for a dua to be answered, فَزُرْ بِهَذَا الزِّيَارَةِ. Visit Imam Hussain alayhi salam by Ziyarat Ashura. مِنْ حَيْثُ كُنْتُمْ, wherever you are. Now, someone was asking yesterday, how should we do the Ziyarat of Imam Hussain alayhi salam? Now, there are books have mentioned that if you want a dua to be answered quickly, go in the naked sky, meaning that go in the actual sky, open sky, and recite Ziyarat of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, even the time of before Fajr and the time of Maghriban. These are the two times which ahadith have mentioned are the best time to recite the Ziyarat Ashura itself. And in this dua it says, Wad'u bihada dua, by the Ziyarat Ashura, dua, wasal rabbaka, and ask your Lord, hajataka, your wish, ta'tika min Allah. Inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will answer your du'as. Yes, Maqam al-Mahmud, I will explain that. Yes, please could you shed some light on Maqam al-Mahmud? Yes, Maqam al-Mahmud is something I will explain. That Wallahi ghayra mukhallafin wa'adallahu rasulahu bi mannihi walhamdulillah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ghayra mukhallafin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not go against his promise. Whoever asks by the means of Ziyarat Ashura, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will fulfill his hajat itself. So, sister, whoever asked that question, or brother or sister, Maqam al-Mahmud, I will talk about that inshallah in one of these sessions, inshallah.
Sheikh, I have a question, please.
Bismillah.
This is my first class with you, the Ziyarah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I missed it or not, but is it okay? You're talking about reciting Ziyarat Ashura. Is it okay to listen to it as well, or like is there the same benefit from listening to it as opposed to reciting it yourself?
If you're listening to it, if you cannot recite it, then you can listen to it. But it is better because when you recite something yourself and you read the words itself, your mindset, you're more focused to it. Because the means of the Ziyarah is to become closer to Imam Zamana, Imam Mahdi Ajallahu Ta'ala Faraj al-Sharif, and to become close to Imam Hussain alayhi salam.
Okay.
Is to gain and attain that. Of course, yes, it's fine, but you will receive a better, a higher position if you recite the dua yourself itself. Because when you listen to it, sometimes you become passive when you listen to someone else. But when you recite it yourself, you're more proactively reciting it. You're more focused itself. As we know that it says that in regards to taqwa, it says that the a'mal which is performed with taqwa is better than performing something with no piety and no consciousness itself.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If you can allow me to ask a question, Sheikh, my question is like, for those who are not comfortable in reciting in Arabic, is it okay for them to read Ziyarat Ashura's translation, or they should read the transliteration and say the Arabic word? Saying Arabic word is important.
The Arabic words, because these are the words of the Malaika and the angels, reciting in the actual language will have more effect. It will have more, I guess, it will have more effect. Yes, you can get transliterations of the actual Arabic text if someone finds it difficult to recite. But inshallah, once you become a regular reciter, you will probably memorize it by end of the next year or so. So inshallah, yes, try to read in the Arabic language because that is the closest to the actual original text.
Jazakumullah khair.
Salam, Mulana, I just wanted to ask you, you mentioned about the earth was created for the Ahlul Bayt.
Yes.
Yeah, and from what I gather, it's Bibi Fatima who's the nucleus of this creation. Yeah,
absolutely. So it's a very good point. So the Ayatollah Adil Alawi, you probably heard of Ayatollah Adil Alawi, who passed away 3 days ago. It's a great tragedy, a great arif. He was the student of Ayatollah Marashi Najafi, who has a library in front of the Haram of Sayyida Ma'suma Kum. Ayatollah Adil Alawi was his student. Now, it says that in his book, he has a book as well, where it says that the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, they are the cause of all of creation. So they are a loop, like we have a necklace itself, and you have the loops of each other.
Yes.
The Ahlul Bayt as a collective together itself, they are the cause of all causes itself.
Yeah.
So Fatima Zahra, yes, she is part of that nucleus, and as the main atom for this nucleus is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because everyone is created from the nur of Rasulullah. So the Ahlul Bayt, so all of these individuals, the Ahlul Bayt al-Muslim, they are all part of the puzzle itself. You cannot say one is more important than no, all of them collectively are the cause of existence of all of mankind itself.
Yes. So yesterday, when you were talking about the door crushing Bibi Fatima,
yes,
it just, how animate and inanimate objects all worship Allah.
Yep.
So I was just thinking, the door could have not made so much force. The door could have held itself back. It's upsetting when you talk about Bibi Fatima and the suffering she's gone through. So I was just thinking, inanimate objects can surely withhold themselves, can they not?
That is a very good question. So then if these things starts happening, that divine intervention, then the Ahlul Bayt al-Muslim, being the role models using their free will, as a means for us, then it becomes the whole beauty of the Ahlul Bayt salam, that they have to live a life of a normal human being, in the sense that they perform actions from their own free will. If always there's intervention of the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the whole purpose of creation and reward becomes, some extent, violated, because Ahlul Bayt salam, for their suffering which they have suffered for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's a beautiful poem in regarding Imam Hussain al-Islam. Imam describes and depicts Imam Hussain: "Oh Allah, I am willing to sacrifice myself for your love. Oh Allah, I am willing to make myself cut in pieces for your love. If this is your wish, I am willing to accept your wish itself." So the Ahlul Bayt al-Salam, they want to achieve the greatest station in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being a means of intervention in any of the human action itself, because the Ahlul Bayt al-Salam are a role model. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is intervening, then people will object that Allah is intervening always with them itself. So they are living a life according to their free will and as a normal human being. So everything has to happen. So those people who have committed the tyranny on Fatima al-Zahra, they will be chastised, the worst of chastisements. And it's a means for us to learn a lesson that how dear Islam is for the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. So I hope I've answered the question.
Thank you.
Right, apologies, I don't take any more time because there's other majalis which people would need to attend. So can we recite Dua Faraj? Is Zain, Brother Zain, are you there? Can you recite Dua Faraj to end the session, please? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma kun li walika al-Hujjat ibn al-Hassan. صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة، وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا وظليلا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك توءا وتمتئه فيها تويلا، برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى
أجل فرجهم. جزاك الله خير الجزاء. التماس دعاء. Inshallah, we'll meet tomorrow, inshallah, في بان الله.